independent in thought, and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
What we learned from the Cohen testimony was that he directly implicated the president in various crimes, both while seeking the office of president and while in the White House.
They are changing their ways. It looks like collusion is not what they can get him on, but if we can get him on something else, in the end, it's about getting the president. It is not about what it started out to be. Remember, he won, and they were flabbergasted. They were shocked, right? If they would have woken up and their heads were sewn to the floor, they would have been less shocked than him winning on that November night. Now it's like, all right, we got to figure something else out, right? Because he's destroying America, which he's not. None of these people, I don't care who do. I don't care if it's Bernie Sanders who becomes the next president, or if it would have been Hillary Clinton, or if it would have been Trump gets 2 terms. None of them are going to destroy America. It's not going to happen. People who will destroy America are us, the people. But not a singular person is going to destroy America. But they've pivoted. They're like, hey, guess what? Doesn't look like we're going to get what we thought we were going to get, because we were pretty sure that we had everything lined up and that Mueller was going to deliver us a big, fat collusion cake, and it was going to be right there. Hey, look at this collusion cake. It's not. Now we're going to go elsewhere. So we're going to start looking, right? Because the Republicans aren't in charge anymore, and the House is where we can go and play the investigation game. So let's do it.
The Republicans spent 2 years shielding the president from any proper accountability. They threatened to impeach people in the Justice Department. They threatened the Mueller investigation.
Yeah. So we'll see what takes place. But that's what it feels like it's going to be. And you have to start asking yourself the question, how far are they going to go? 81 places they're right now, 81 different agencies. They're asking for documents. They're going to get documents. They're going to subpoena documents. They're going to look at everything from family to any associates to people who've walked by him. And you just walk by him, and you're going to get subpoenaed. Did you do something? Did you know something? Were you a part of something? They're going to look, because I think the way that they're going to do it now is it's a crime family. That's what they've become. It's a crime family, right? They're going to take some of what Cohen said, and then we're going to go, it's a crime. This is all that it's about. It's a crime family. This is who they are. They're using this entire thing to enrich themselves. They're not doing anything other than that. They're not serious about this. They're breaking the rule of law on a day-to-day basis. So we got to get them out. And if we can't do it through collusion, because there isn't any collusion, and we don't even know what the Mueller investigation says, then we're going to go in other directions.
Impeachment is a long way down the road. We don't have the facts yet, but we're going to initiate proper investigations.
Yeah. So there they go. Jerry Nadler right there. I don't know. Look, can they get him for obstruction? Can they get them for lying? Can they get somebody inside of the family for lying? Oh, yeah, you bet you can. You ask. The reality is it's probably going to happen. You're going to find somebody who said something that maybe they said something on purpose, trying to lie, or maybe they're just saying something because they thought that's what it was, and away it's going to go. And I think what's going to happen is going to put the Democrats in a real tough position, because you look at the numbers right now, right? Trump's numbers are fairly decent for a president. You know, here's the thing. It's decent in the sense that he is strongly viewed and negatively viewed, and there isn't a lot in between. Very positive, 30%, somewhat positive, 42%, neutral, 8%, somewhat negative, 10%, very negative, 40%. His approval rating, according to the Wall Street Journal NBC poll, is some of the best he has seen. He's sitting in a situation, he's at 46%. I think he was at 47% a while back, but again, it depends on the poll you're looking at. But when you look at something like this, that's pretty damn good. And here's the other thing. Even though a lot of people disapprove with Trump, and a lot of Republicans I talk to disapprove with Trump, the more that you go after him, and the more you do it in such a way of making it look like that the people who voted for him are morons and idiots and have made a huge mistake, and it's all of their fault, the more that people go, I'm over this. Also, the more that you continue to go after him when you're at the point where it's like, look, you guys started over here, now you're over here. It looks like your only goal is to get him out of office. the more that people will dig in. Because as we know, as tribal as we are, what happens? The more that we're tribal, the more that we dig in when we see that our side is being attacked. Even if you may agree with some of the stuff that's going on, it's the way that you're doing it that is making people uncomfortable. And it's going to put the certain Democrats who are moderate Democrats, who are in the middle, or even ones who are buying into a lot of this new progressivism, but also understand the political side of things and look at stuff long term rather than short term, in a tough position. And that question is are they going to have to go after him for impeachment?
I do think we're going to get to impeachment in some ways. I don't think Democrats are going to be able to hold themselves back as they get closer to 2020. And I don't think it matters because, frankly, nothing's going to drive this president from office. You have to think of him. He's not Nixon, as I said. He's Buddy Cianci. He's Marion Barry. He's a guy who loves. Come at him. He loves it, right? He wants the fight.
He does.
Yeah, he wants to fight and everything. And never was that more true over the weekend. If you didn't see any, we're going to play some of it throughout today. Some of it is just he was doing exactly what Trump does. He held court. Bernie's holding court. Bernie had 12,000 people come out to see him. He gets the crowd. Last week, I said the reason that he won is because in the world of cult of personality, he was the bigger of the two personalities. The Clinton name is massive, but Hillary isn't Bill. He holds court. Hillary didn't. Right? Hillary did not. She was, this is what you're going to get. Here's the punchline. Clap when you're supposed to. This is it. Trump holds court. Bernie, in so many ways, holds court. And everybody's like, well, she won the popular vote. Yeah, but if you'd have run somebody else who actually was semi-decent and not a robot, you might have crushed him. You'll never know now, though. You won't. But he was Trump. 2+ hours. I listened to it. I was driving from... I had like a 4-hour drive, and I listened to a good portion of it as I drove from Palm Springs, and I was like, wow, he's just going to town. And I was like, how long is this thing going to go? But he really, was exactly what he was supposed to be, which is, in this day, is I'm here in front of my people. They've come out. I am going to play the hits.
Not to talk badly about the other administration, but if that theory went forward, with crooked Hillary winning the election, instead of being up almost 50% with the stock market, you would have been down 50%.
Right? Plays the hits. Plays the hits over and over again. Hits everything that he's supposed to do with that crowd, but he does it in a way where it's a little bit different every time. I've worked in comedy for off and on for years, and you'll go and you'll see some of the same comics, and you can tell their jokes. And you see other comics who are great, who, even though the jokes are similar to what they're doing, every show is a different show. You're going to get a different feel. It's the same thing for Trump. You don't know what you're going to get.
So everybody's having a good time. I'm laughing. We're all having fun. And then that fake CNN and others say, he asked Russia to go get the emails. Horrible.
It's just... He hits it over and over again, does what he does. And that's what makes Trump Trump. Right now, I look at the field that's out there, and I'm saying to myself, who do you have that can beat him at this moment? If we were to have an election today, because for a lot of people, it's still better the devil you do than the devil you don't. And the second thing is, you are losing your moderates, your independents, because you're going so far left that they're uncomfortable. I was 538. Nate Silver talked about how right now socialism, the word socialism is bad, but a lot of the policies that they want to put out there are good. And a lot of people agree with a lot of these policies, but they don't agree how you get to those areas. And they certainly hell don't like the way that you get there if it's we're going to just take everything from everybody and, this costs this much. The reality of it is a much different tune. All of us would love not to, not to have to pay for school or not to have to pay for medical. But when you find out you have to and it's just a different way, then you find out you're losing your choice in a lot of things. Well, that doesn't sound as good. And that's where Trump's going to go. They have given him an opportunity where he can knock it out of the park for the next 2 years. The Green New Deal, where they're going? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Breaking news.
Luke Perry was probably best known for playing Dylan McKay, the brooding bad boy on the Fox teen soap opera Beverly Hills 90210.
I don't want to make you feel terrible anymore.
He pursued his dream of acting after graduating high school, moving to Los Angeles and going on more than 200 auditions before getting his first job in a commercial. In the late 80s, he landed roles on the soap opera Loving and Another World, and then in 1990, 90210 made him a household name. Movie roles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Terminal Bliss soon followed, and most recently he played Archie's dad on the CW show Riverdale. Perry is survived by his 2 kids, Jack and Sophie.
Yeah, he was, 24 when he was on 90210, playing like a 17-year-old. But 52, it gets you thinking, right? It gets you thinking. 52 years of age, as somebody who's 48 years old, start thinking. Wow. And he just, the day that he had the stroke last week, he was supposed to be on his way to sign the deal for the revamp and the reboot of 90210. On top of that, he had just filmed parts for the new Quentin Tarantino movie that's coming out about the Manson murders. So he was working. And 52 years of age, it was quite you're sitting there. And last week it was weird because he's in a coma. He wasn't in a coma. He was okay. He wasn't okay. He's going to be fine. He wasn't going to be fine. And then boom. He's dead, and it starts making you think about your mortality, right? Like when you start seeing, because I knew as a kid growing up, and somebody would die, and my dad or my grandma go, "Oh my God, I loved him." You're like, I don't know, I never saw any of those shows. And then you get to the point where people you grew up with on TV who were dying, you're like, oh my God. Like Jack has no idea who he is, but I do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Guys, you and I, what we're all terrible at? Getting ourselves checked on anything, right? You twist your ankle, you're fine, you walk it off, rub a little dirt on it, you don't be fine, run it off. It's uncomfortable, but we do, right? Same thing goes for things like erectile dysfunction. Studies show that 70% of guys who experience ED, they don't what? They don't get checked out by a doctor. Guess what? Roman has made everything easier. Simple. One-stop shop, licensed U.S. physicians. You can diagnose ED and ship medication right to your door. So you don't have to worry about going to the waiting room, uncomfortable conversations, getting that awkward situation when you go to see the pharmacist. None of that stuff. It is so simple. First, you go right now to GetRoman.com/Benson. You fill out a brief medical onboarding. You chat with the doctor. You get an FDA-approved medicine. It's ED medicine delivered straight to your door. Boom. Unmarked packaging. Nothing to worry about. It's a win-win, and right now it's not costing you a thing for you to get your online visit. Go to GetRoman.com/Benson. That's GetRoman.com/Benson. It's free online visit. It's on me. GetRoman.com/Benson. At Chad Benson Show. ChadBenson. It is the Chad Benson Show.
Deal this.
Mueller, arrest me.
Chad will trade you 2 perjury charges for 1 collusion and throw in a reduced charge of obstruction for free.
Yeah, I'd do that.
For just listening to The Chad Benson Show.
Dylan doesn't have a great family life. Now I'll tell you what Dylan does have. He has a very strong sense of himself. He's a very independent character. A thinker, and not so much a doer, unless it needs done, but a thinker. And I like that. That's one of the qualities that attracted me to him.
Luke Perry right there talking about his character Dylan long ago. Of course, he died today at age 52, but we were talking about it. And a lot of people around the station here, people my age, Gen Xers, in their early 40s to early 50s, it brings home a bit of the mortality. And it's, again, at 52, when you're 20, it seems like forever. When you're 48, it seems like it's not too far away. And passed away today, surrounded by his family. Just one of those things where I was saying it just brings home a bit of your mortality when you have somebody who dies of a stroke. And apparently he has that is in his family. They have a history of that. So for what that is, but I just know every person, when you start to get a certain age, right? You hear that somebody around your age dies, and you're like, what happened? Was it suicide? Was it drugs? Was it something? Or can I be in a situation like that? It's that mortality thing. It's real. 323-538-2423 each and every day at this time, kids. We like to have a little bit of fun with you. We like to give you some knowledge you can take out on the streets of these here United States of America, or pray tell anywhere else on earth, and you could throw down this simply called the Urban Word of the Day.
It's time for the Urban Word of the Day, fam.
What? Right now?
Time to get a little more hip on the streets.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Urban Word of the Day.
You may see it on a text message. You can look down and you're taking a look at your kid's phone and it says NSG. And you're like, what is that? No, not MSG. NSG. Not something good. The little sister's been teaching me some of this stuff, and they're teaching me the lingo, the letters. What do they stand for? I said, what is NSG? She's like, it's not something good. I said, oh, so something bad. No, she goes, it's not something good. I said, oh, NSG, not something good. Your urban word of the day.
Thank you for saying that in dated urban slang so that I'll understand you.
That there was the Urban Word of the Day. We damn stretched your cranium.
Drug maker Eli Lilly bowing to pressure from the president, Congress, and others for Big Pharma to lower prices. It's come up with a lower-priced version of a top-selling insulin known as Humalog. Insulin Lispro will sell for about $137 per vial, or $265 for a 5-pack of Quick Pens. The group Patients for Affordable Drugs says it's a step in the right direction, but that even the lower prices are still too high.
Yeah. Here's the thing about the industry itself, and we'll dive in a little bit deeper. A lot of what the industry is being able to patent something that works and then being able to take that patent and find other things that it works for to continue to keep that patent going. Because a lot of times these patents have a shelf life, maybe 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and then that patent will expire. So what you try to do is say, hey, look, this over here it works for this as well, so they can continue to keep that patent going and continue to charge the things they do. They call them patent trolls, and it's you're always looking for something. And in an industry where you put a lot of money into it, you want to make a ton of money. Where's the happy medium in it for people? I think that's a fair question. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So much stuff to talk about. More Trump and CPAC. Michael Jackson leaving Neverland. What do you hear what Elton John said about the accusations years ago on Baba Wawa? We'll talk about that. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Democrats are no longer waiting for Robert Mueller's report to plow ahead on this issue. Instead, we've learned that they are now preparing to formally request the president's tax returns. There's a new sense of urgency here among Democrats after Michael Cohen's testimony last week raised serious new questions about the president's finances and conflicts of interest, including whether the president inflated his own wealth for his own personal gain.
This is what we're going to get. You knew it was coming, right? Let's be real. You knew it was coming. They're going to look everywhere. They're going to start subpoenaing. They're going to search for anything they possibly can find, no matter where they have to go. And this has gone from one area to another. Trump was asked about it today.
I cooperate all the time with everybody. And you know the beautiful thing? No collusion. It's all a hoax. You're going to learn about that as you grow older. It's a political hoax. There's no collusion. There's no anything. Folks, go and eat up. Eat up.
All right there, Trump today. He had the North Dakota Bisons, who are the what is it? And it's the FBS. So it's the second. So you got the NCAA, you got like the Clemson Tigers, and then underneath them, division wise, is the Bisons, and he hosted them today. Gave them Chick-fil-A, which you can't do, because that's totally offensive, giving athletes fast food. What are you thinking? They would never, ever, 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 ever eat fast food. He's already getting hammered for that. Look, he does a lot of stuff that drives me crazy. He does a lot of stuff where you could say to yourself, self, that is not presidential at all. At all. Not even come close to presidential. And there's a lot of stuff where you just sit back and you say to yourself, what's the old saying? He can walk on water, and the Dems would say he can't swim. That is the kind of thing that, he's giving him fast food. As a 19-year-old kid, you want to hand me Chick-fil-A? As a 48-year-old man, I love me some Chick-fil-A. Not going to lie to you. Not going to lie to you. I had Chick-fil-A last weekend, and I liked it. I loved it. It's delicious. I have a gift card that I haven't even used from Christmas inside. Just haven't figured out when I'm going to use it. I like Chick-fil-A. You want to give me Chick-fil-A? I'm not going to bitch. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. It is a hard documentary to watch. And at the same time, it is riveting. And it is just I think it's very real. From a person who has gone through what these guys have gone through, allegedly, and the controversies out there. Producer Phil said earlier, there's Michael Jackson truthers. The Leaving Neverland documentary that is out, and HBO played the first of two parts of the documentary last night. It is, listening to them talk, right? You've got two guys. You've got Wade Robson and James Safechuck talking about their experiences. It just seemed, when they described a lot of it, it's just like it was right there. It was very real. From pulling up into the house and the parents and all of these kind of things about just what it's like to be in Neverland.
Michael asked, "Do you and the family want to come to Neverland?"
We drive in and forget about all your problems. You were in Neverland. It was a fantasy. Just kid things. They were just doing kid things. He just came across as a loving, caring, kind soul. It was easy to believe that he was just that.
Yeah, but he wasn't just that, according to these guys. And remember, I think it was 93. He paid out like $20+ million to somebody. And we'll touch on that in a second. But they get deeper into what it is and the situation that surrounded Michael Jackson. And I asked myself this question. It's like, he was a huge star. It wasn't just any kind of star. Michael Jackson was arguably the biggest star in the history of the world of all time. He was bigger than Elvis. He was bigger probably than the Beatles. He was that big of a star. I think Thriller is still the #1 selling album of all time. But there was always something weird. And everybody was like, well, he's Peter Pan. He's this childlike innocence. And, the way he was raised and all of this kind of stuff. He surrounds himself with these, it's just a very weird situation. Yeah, but
there's no thoughts of this is wrong or anything like that.
He told me if they ever found out what we were doing, he and I would go to jail for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. And I found both of these guys to be pretty damn credible. I'm not going to lie to you. I found them to be very credible. I found them to be very real. And, well, they're making money off of it. So what? Look, I was in a horrific situation as a child. I wish I had a chance to make money off of it, right? It sounds horrible, but it's gone and dusted. That sounds, oh, my God. It was a horrible situation. I went through horrific things. But you know what? There's no Catholic Church. There was no Michael Jackson. And I tell you, when you hear them talk about what he did to them, how he groomed them, I can guarantee you go and you look over and over again to Catholic churches, to other people who've gone through the situation. It is spot on what he did.
The first thing I remember is Michael sort of, moving his hands across my legs. We're both clothed in PJs. And then his hands sort of got to, my crotch area. Beginning sort of fondling there. I was 7 years old when this began.
7 years old. Now, something I brought up, and I haven't heard anybody else talk about it, so I'm going to take a little credit on it. I said, I remember, I thought it was Tonight Show or something like that, Elton John speaking about this right after, I think it was 95 or whatever, when all of this came to a head the first time, and he ended up having to pay a ton of money to a kid. And I think Baba Walters asked him about this. And I think anybody, this isn't a situation where it's a he said, she said, or he looked at me funny, or he took a picture, or, this isn't these weren't adults. These are children. This is child molestation, right? Because we all know that he said, she said. At some point in time, your insurance company will say, just pay it out, right? But child molestation is a different world. That is a different situation. And listen to what Elton John had to say.
I wouldn't have settled. I wouldn't care if I had to sell my last thing in life just to clear my name. I don't know anything about Michael Jackson's case whatsoever. I don't know any of the facts. I mean, all I know is that, if I'd have been innocent of those things, I would have said, I'm going for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the he said, she said world is one thing. Because we also know there's a lot of people out there that are always looking for some way to make a few bucks, or in this day and age, it's ridiculous, But this, nah. And you've got the truthers out there. You've got people saying, "Oh, he's been railroaded. My uncle's not here." I read one tweet today from one of his nieces, where it said, "My uncle's not here to defend himself. I met him 1,000 times." Look. A lot of what I found to be was credible. Did the documentarians, I'm sure, put the twist on things? Of course they did. I think a good documentarian will also give all kinds of sides to stories, which I think it is, but both sides have told their stories through years. What I do know is everybody I talk to about this says, well, I don't know if he did it. I said, would you let your kids stay there? Hell no. That's it. There is no chance in hell that my 8-year-old son, Jack, will ever stay at another man's house by himself with me at a different hotel, and they're the only two there. We're not talking about a slumber party with 25 people and you've got your own kid, that kind of. We're talking about, hey, why don't you come on over and play? And when people talked about Macaulay Culkin and a few other people, I always said, look, here's the thing. They were such big stars that the reality was that Michael probably thought, I can't do anything to them because they're stars right now are on the rise, or they're so big that would be insane. These other kids, their parents are willing to put them in situations because they're seeing all this great stuff and they're hoping that they can live financially through their kid's life. They're willing in many ways to sell their kids to the devil. And I blame a lot of this on them. I do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. Love hearing from you. I sit here, just Trump over the weekend at CPAC was just, he's everything Trump is, right? Like just listening to some of these things that he talks about and the way that he goes about it, it just shows me that the crowd, he gets it. A lot of other people, I don't think understand the crowd the way he does. It was 2.5 hours of Trump being absolutely Trump.
I should have saved the Pocahontas thing for another year. Because I've destroyed her political career, and now I won't get a chance to run against her, and I would have loved it.
And I think he absolutely means it. And just listening to him, everything was the off-the-cuff kind of thing, which you're just like, oh, he's just a buffoon, he's an idiot. No, you know what he is? He gets a crowd. He gets a crowd. He gets it in a massive way. The same way Bernie got 12,500 people in cold-ass weather to show up. Hillary couldn't do that. Bernie got people chanting. Bernie got people. He gets it. Beto is going to get that same kind of love because, well, quite frankly, in front of a crowd, he's charismatic. He's dynamic. He'll get it. Does it mean he can win? That I don't know. But what I do know is when, because Hillary's always looking, she's really, well, maybe it was this or maybe it was that. No, you just didn't get it. And the reality is people say, well, she won the popular vote by what, a couple million? Take away California. What does she win it by? If she wins it at all. And most people agree that if you run somebody else, you probably win by several million, potentially. So what does that say about you? But he just gets it. He is just, there's something about, he gets out there, and when he starts ad-libbing, he goes and he's working the crowd. I don't care what the material is. He's just working the crowd. He gets the hits over and over again, and every time is going to be a different show.
So when I'm on the debate stage with one of these maniacs, I mean, trains to Hawaii. How do you get to Europe? We haven't figured that one out yet. We don't use airplanes anymore.
And that's going to be tough, man. They're going to have to, they're going to be, wait, no, but we're getting behind it, but that's not what we really mean. It's going to be tough. He's going to play it. And socialism, they've given him socialism. And you look at the polls, even Democrats are afraid to vote for somebody who identifies as a socialist. They're afraid. And now you've given him the fight for the wall continuing, and now you've given him socialism front and center, and the Green New Deal that they all are afraid to not get behind, even though to a man and woman they're probably not really thrilled with. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Being healthy is amazing. Too many times, guys, we do stuff. We hurt ourselves. We play through the pain, right? Rub a little dirt on it. Yeah, we don't take care of ourselves the way that we should. And we all know that. I'm guilty of it. Many of you are guilty of it. Same is true with erectile dysfunction. Studies show that 70% of guys who experience ED don't get treated for it. Luckily, there's Roman. Created. It's easy. It's an easy way to get checked out by a doctor, get treated online. It's a one-stop shop. You can have licensed U.S. physicians. They can diagnose ED and ship it straight to your door, the medicine that you need. Great thing is there's no waiting rooms. This is the future of medicine, by the way. There's no waiting rooms. There's no awkward face-to-face conversations, no uncomfortable trips to the pharmacy, none of that stuff, right? Discreetly online. All you have to do is go to getroman.com/Benson. You fill out an onboarding brief medical thing that you just fill it out right there. Then you get a chat with a doctor. Then you're going to get FDA-approved ED meds delivered to your door in discreet, unmarked packaging. Boom. Yes, this is it, guys. It's a new way to do it. What are you waiting for? It's free online visit. It's on me right now. Go to getroman.com/Benson. That's getroman.com/Benson. It's a free visit right now. Getroman.com/Benson. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
It's a hidden dragon world. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, held the #1 box office spot for a second week. It took in just over $30 million, though that comes with a 45% drop-off in business, even though it screened in a handful of additional theaters.
I know it's about funerals. I done buried a lot of men. A lot of them.
Tyler Perry might want to reconsider retiring Medea. A Medea family funeral bowed in strong second place with $27 million, the fourth best opening in the 9-film comedy franchise.
Outside of that was quiet. Everybody's moving decks this week. Everybody, hope you enjoyed your week of fun and frivolity. Captain Marvel opens up this week, and I have a feeling it is going to be massive. And I have a feeling it's going to be massive for 3+ weeks, and then I'm interested in seeing because Shazam opens up in a month. And I watched the trailer for that, and I thought, I kind of like it. It looks kind of funny. It's DC. It's a little bit different than the comic book stuff that we see. It's more lighthearted, a little bit more campy, almost a 90s version kind of stuff. So that'll be funny, but Captain Marvel's just going to crush it. Speaking of movies, Steven Spielberg is coming hard for Netflix. And we've talked about the fact that Netflix and the battle they have in Hollywood, that nobody wants to give Netflix its due. A lot of people thought Roma was the best movie of the year. It went to Green Book. A lot of people think that they're doing everything they can to not allow Netflix to feel like they're part of it. You're more of an aggregator. We're going to send you stuff and you're going to play it. You're not a studio, when in reality, they're a massive studio. They're producing so much. And it's almost like you can play in television's realm because you're on the TV, but you can't play in our little area. This is our fiefdom, and we're not going to recognize you for that, even if you release a movie. And that's what they do. They'll go in like a Roma, or a few years ago, Beast of No Nations, and several other ones. What they do is they release them in a small amount of theaters just in time to get them in if they think it's going to be good enough for Academy Awards season. And no matter how good the movie was, and if you've seen Beast of No Nations, there's no doubt a few years ago with Idris Elba, that was probably the best movie of the year, and it got nothing, even though it was in a few theaters. And Spielberg's coming out against it. And you're fighting. Don't be the newspaper industry and many other industries that thought, oh, we'll take the internet on. It's going to be just the computers and the internet flash in the pan. Don't be that. Don't be that. And I feel like that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. I don't know. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Some of you tweeting in about Michael Jackson and Chad, it was never proven. You paid out that much money. That feels a little proven to me. And it wasn't once or twice, it just kept going, right? You had the 1993, then you had these kids and a few other things that just seemed to go on and on with him. I'm sorry. I look at this and it just feels like, But we always want to, compartmentalize. Well, we'll put his bad stuff over here, but he's still Michael Jackson. And I even did it to the point where it's like, well, I can listen to the Jackson 5, but this weekend, Pretty Young Thing came on, and I like the damn song. But then the first thing I hear is him, and I think, ugh. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Check us out on Instagram as well, and Facebook. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Most of us think it would be an emergency if, there's a television show where the State of the Union, everything blows up and everybody dies. That would be an emergency. People incapacitated by anthrax. That's an emergency.
Yeah, that right there's Rand Paul. He's going to vote against Trump's emergency. Emergency. He's going to vote against it. Our good man Mitch McConnell, of course, as we call him, Speedy.
What is clear in the Senate is there will be enough votes to pass the resolution of disapproval, which will then be vetoed by the president, and then in all likelihood the veto will be upheld in the House.
Yeah, that's not in Schoolhouse Rock. Let me tell you what happens, how it becomes a state of emergency, and how it goes. First, the president says it's a state of emergency, and then everybody goes straight to the talk shows. Right, that's probably the way it does. And that Bill's like, he's tired because he's like, then it goes back to House, then it goes to committee, then it goes here, then it goes there, and then all the way up to district courts over here, and then went over here, and they're judge shopping, and all of a sudden it goes up to the Supreme Court, and there's that Supreme Court, and everybody's like, oh my God, we're at the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says yay or nay, and this is the way it goes. That's kind of the way I feel it's going to go. That's the worst Schoolhouse Rock ever. Here's something, though. I like Rand Paul. I wish he was more energetic, and I wish he could take a punch better, but it is what it is. Chad, you're making fun of the fact that his neighbor kicked his ass. Yes, I am. But here is Rand Paul doing something about the Constitution, talking about said Constitution, talking about that there thing. But I want to remind him something.
The Constitution says that all laws are created by Congress, and then it specifically says that you have to have a law to take money from the Treasury. For an appropriation to happen, you have to have a law.
But this is where it's going to get weird and tricky. And the reason is, for years, right, and we're talking 70s, we're talking like last century, right, like 30 years ago last century, not like 1999, but like 30 years plus last century, they started allowing the president to have more and more power in these state of emergencies. Now, the difference, as I've explained to everybody, yes, there's 31 of them out there, and we're all living under them on a daily basis. But the reality is this is the one that takes money, and they, right, they're the ones with the purse strings. And that's the anger that a lot of people say, Also talked about whether or not we need an actual wall.
We had a big debate in our country. We debated for a couple of months about how much money should be spent on the wall. And I probably would have spent more. I think we need a wall. I think we need security at the border.
Yeah, there you go. We need a wall. We need security at the border. I think we need barriers in certain areas. And outside of that, I think just the area itself is going to be a barrier for enough people. And we still have to face the fact that we as a nation consume so much of these drugs that no matter what kind of wall you build, no matter how big a barrier is, that some people in particular, and you got to think about this, the people that are shipping the drugs here do not care about the person who's risking their freedom and their life to get the drugs here. In some cases, they're doing it because they think there's a fat paycheck at the end of it, meaning they're going to get a lot of cash, which is true, and they're desperate to do so. In other cases, they're just greedy, and that's all they care about is getting that money, that they're going to come over here, and they're criminals, and that's what they're going to do. And in other cases, they're forced into it. But the people that are at the top could care less. Build a 1,000-foot wall, and we'll get anything we can over it or under it. We'll go through the ports. We'll go over the ports. We'll go under the ports. We'll do whatever we have to do to get that stuff here. That is the reality of that. So I think Trump figures, and I think he talked to, people, and he said, people, look, I'm going to try this. We'll see where this goes. Maybe it gets to where we need it to get, which is the Supreme Court. I'll veto whatever comes before that. It'll get to the Supreme Court, and I think I have the Supreme Court in my favor on this one. I think if it was the other way, I don't think he would have tried this. But we'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. With all of that going on, kids, with all of that stuff going on, oh, yes, of course, we need to talk about taxes and subpoenas and the Mueller investigation because they're pivoting now and they're moving in a different direction, right? They're moving in a different direction. It is no longer about, it's no longer about collusion, right? Or as he called it over the weekend, the collusion delusion. No. Now we're going to do a little tax return.
House Democrats are actively preparing a request for the president's tax returns. Senior congressional aides tell me that initially they were going to wait for the Mueller report to be released, but Michael Cohen's testimony has injected a new urgency. He raised questions over whether the president inflated or deflated his income for tax and insurance purposes.
So they're going after it in a way where they can say, okay, what has he done here? When it comes to campaign finances, they're not going to get anything there. And they realize that they're not going to get anything in I think they figured a while ago that the Mueller investigation wasn't going to turn up enough to get him out of office, which is their goal. It's just not. There's not enough there. So is there enough there in other things? And that big one being obstruction of justice, because I think this is where they feel they've got something where they can go after him and they can pin on him and they can really come hard.
Do you think the president obstructed justice?
Yes, I do. It's very clear that the president obstructed justice.
There you go. It's very clear. It's 100% clear. It's never been clearer than anything in the history of clear. Right? Never. It's never been any clearer than this kind of clear. That's how clear this clear has been. It's that clear. I have said that you and I both talk about this all the time. Very rarely is it the crime. It's usually the cover-up that is the issue. And you only have to have a slip up or a slip there when the feds are looking into you. Your best bet when they come to your door is say, I did everything that you think I'm going to do. You don't even know what you're going to ask us. Doesn't matter. Right? Doesn't matter. If I forgot something, you're going to say I did it on purpose. So, boom. And that's where they're going to get him. They're going to look into every way, shape, and form that he may have done something, or his kids in particular may have done something, and they're going to go after it in that direction. 110%. And then they've got to ask themselves, is impeachment where they're headed? Because a different generation wants impeachment. A younger, political, aggressive, activist generation wants him gone. He is he has got them to the point where they've thought about running. They're changing America back to the way it used to be, so we're going to run, and they want him gone. Older, centrist Democrats, people who've been in the political field for a long time, are thinking, you see his numbers? 90% for Republicans as far as favorable is what he's sitting at 46% overall. Your resistance to him is making them dig in deeper. Even if you have a chance to get them, you're making them feel like they have no choice but to resist you. But can they resist an impeachment?
I do think we're going to get to impeachment in some ways. I don't think Democrats are going to be able to hold themselves back as they get closer to 2020. And I don't think it matters because, frankly, nothing's going to drive this president from office. You have to think of him. He's not Nixon, as I said. He's Buddy Cianci. He's Marion Barry. He's a guy who loves. Come at him. He loves it, right? He wants the fight.
He does.
Yeah, he does. He wants the fight. He enjoys the fight. You only had to listen to him in his 2.5 hours this weekend at CPAC to talk about just to hear how he enjoys the fight. But he's missing something. That's the Republicans that protected him because he was able to fight in a lot of ways without getting too hammered, but he still has the Republican cover when it comes to the Senate. But now the House is where all the investigations will start from, and that's what's happening.
The Republicans spent 2 years shielding the president from any proper accountability. They threatened to impeach people in the Justice Department. They threatened the Mueller investigation.
Well, we'll see what takes place. We will. Do I think that they're going to get him on something? No, I've always said, to me, it's his kids that they're going to come after. And I don't know what happens from there. I don't know exactly what takes place from there because not only do you have to worry about what's going on in D.C., but now you have the Southern District of New York that is real, that is looking to a lot of different things, and it's going to be uncomfortable for Trump for the next 2 years. But when it starts to become a point where America gets overexhausted of the continual going after him, which you're starting to see, that resistance will build up another resistance to it. And that's where they may pay for it at the ballot box, for sure.
Luke Perry was probably best known for playing Dylan McKay, the brooding bad boy on the Fox teen soap opera Beverly Hills 90210.
I don't want to make you feel terrible anymore.
He pursued his dream of acting after graduating high school, moving to Los Angeles and going on more than 200 auditions before getting his first job in a commercial. In the late 80s, he landed roles on the soap opera Loving and Another World, and then in 1990, 90210 made him a household name. Movie roles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Terminal Bliss soon followed, and most recently he played Archie's dad on the CW show Riverdale. Perry is survived by his 2 kids, Jack and Sophie.
Yeah, what's funny is I was talking to somebody who was a little bit younger today, and he's 26. I'm 48. I remember watching Luke Perry's a few years older than me, and watching him on that show. And the day that this happened, he was supposed to go finish up the contract details and sign on to be in the new reboot of 90210. But this younger guy who's 26, he's a millennial, he knows him in a different way from Riverdale.
Drawing in a new generation of fans. Perry was too busy to join a revival of 90210, a reboot announced just last week. A day later, that call for help from the actor's home.
Get 102, rescue 78, stroke.
Perry suffering a massive stroke at just 52 years old.
And apparently his family has a history of strokes. And he just finished, I don't know what the name of it. It's Quentin Tarantino's new movie. He did a few scenes or a few parts in the new movie that's coming out with DiCaprio and with Brad Pitt about the Manson murders. That is, a lot of people has Hollywood buzzing about it. So he was working. He was going to do some stuff part-time on, I guess, in the 90210. They discussed it. I don't think he had full-time. I just think he's doing a lot of stuff. And producer Phil, you and I talked about it. He also played Lane Frost, the great bull rider who at a very young age was also taken from us. But it gave us that soundtrack of that movie. 8 Seconds gave us The Dance by old Garth Brooks there. So 52 years old. And when you think about it, you don't even say 52 years old. It's 52 years young. You got so much time ahead of you. Wow, it's gone. Was he? I think he was probably the biggest. But I was talking to a couple of people about you got Shannon Doherty who's battling breast cancer. And then you have him who's passed away. And it's just, and I believe the dad died a year or two ago, who was Dylan's dad on that show as well. So it's man, think about that. It's just that at my age, I was texting back and forth with one of my buddies today. It's just that feeling of it's mortality, right? Your mortality, and that is one of those things right there. You were just like, 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from all of you. Butcher Box is amazing. It's always good to eat healthy. I do with Butcher Box. Absolutely. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to have tonight. I think I'm going to make a little pasta with some meat sauce. I'm going to use their ground beef. And that's great because right now, for my listeners, you guys get free ground beef for the life of your subscription. They're going to give you $20 off as well when you go to butcherbox.com/chat. With ButcherBox, this is what you get. Month's worth of meat for less than $6 a meal. Best cuts, best quality everywhere. Real meat, high quality meat. There's no antibiotics. They're not raised in a horrible way. It's humanely is the way that they raise these animals, and it's ethical. Absolutely. You're going to get better tasting, more nutrient dense of meat, which is amazing. And I love the fact there's no hormones or antibiotics. And it really is incredible. They've got the pork is like the first thing I go through when I get my new box. It's just, it's gone. Bye. And same thing, like the ground beef is absolutely, if you make a hamburger with this, you're like, this thing is huge. It reminds me of, because you get a hamburger, right, and you make it, and then you put it, normally you put it on the barbecue or whatever, and it shrinks up. It's not like this. It's so big afterwards. It reminds me of the side of meat they put on the Flintstones, and it tips the car over. That's how big it is. It is incredible. Now's your chance. Incredible taste. You're going to love it. Right now, my listeners, free ground beef for the life of your subscription, $20 off your first box. Sign up right now. ButcherBox.com/Chad. 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 It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
Give me a break. That's what both sides are saying as New York City debates whether it should be the first city in the nation to require employers to give workers paid vacation. Mayor Bill de Blasio says workers should be able to take a paid personal day without taking a financial hit. But some business owners say paid vacation would be too costly, especially with minimum wage increases and paid sick leave requirements.
It doesn't matter, Bill. Right? You know this and I know this. Those business owners are just liars. All they're doing is printing money and just rolling it in the back. They're not working hard. It's tough. It's tough to run a business. And that's why the whole thing with and you're hearing everybody pipe up that the leadership in New York saying, oh God, we got to figure out a way to bring Amazon back because people already think it's a tough place to do business. And now we're chasing away arguably the biggest company on earth.
Well, I wish they had come to New York. I would hope they could reconsider. It's a shot in the arm for jobs in New York. If they have to renegotiate certain parts of it, fine. But we hope they could still come.
Chuck Schumer, why would they renegotiate? They got what they wanted. They'd settled on it. They thought it was fine. And then they got pushback from a lot of people. And so they said, fine, we'll leave. If you guys don't want us here, we'll leave. And then everybody's like, you're jerks. You're horrible. Blah, 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 blah. And everybody's like, oh, don't leave. We were just kidding. Those people suck. Don't listen to them. It's a tough California, New York, a lot of places, tough place to do business. They make doing business hard. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I just don't think they're coming back. And if you're a small business owner and you're hearing that they want to make it mandatory, paid time off, that's going to be tough for small business. And that's what drives America. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Talk a little Michael Jackson, the Leaving Neverland HBO special, documentary part 1 last night. Just riveting, interesting, tough to watch at times. Democrats have a new move when it comes to Trump. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
independent in thought and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
But you know what? We're winning, and they're not. We're winning, and they're not.
Trump at CPAC doing what Trump does, holding court. Somebody tweeted it earlier. We live in a world now where Trump's going to get his own special on Netflix because it was very comedic at times. He's just, I don't think people understand the importance of having that ability. That's why when people look at somebody like Beto and they say, well, he couldn't even win in Texas. It's a tough win for a Democrat in Texas. And there's a great article in Reason of can a self-described capitalist who's also a Democrat actually win in 2020? Because a lot of people are going to push back against that because apparently socialism is where they want to go, which is just insane. But the cult of personality, Beto's great in front of a crowd, and you need that. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, but you need policy. Yes, policy's great. We all realize that. Policy is the stake. You get there by selling the sizzle. Trump is great at sizzle. Hillary wasn't. Hillary at times reminded me of like the Peanuts parents. It was awful. It was. I mean, it's amazing. Just her. And I don't think I get so much pushback last week. They're like, well, she won the popular vote. Yes, but you could have probably ran a noodle and it could have beaten Trump based on how a lot of people felt. But they realized that she was as bad and there was nothing that was captivating about her. And you still need that. You do. You still need that cult of personality. Don't tell me that Obama didn't have a cult of personality. Damn Skippy, he did. Every president that's ever won has something about them, whether it's their down-homeness. You can look at you can look at HW, and you can look at somebody like even Carter, right? There was certain down-homeness to them. My God, even Nixon was somewhat funny and compelling. Look at Kennedy. And we're talking about modern times where you're in front of people. Don't tell me it doesn't matter. When the world saw Nixon sweat on television, it changed a lot of things on how they feel about it. It matters. Even with Bernie, for God's sakes. Bernie gets out there. Listen to Bernie hold court. 12,000 people coming out to see Bernie.
Thank you all for being part of a political revolution which is going to transform America.
Right? You hear them, they get going. The only time Hillary ever hears her name or anything about that when they're chanting is lock her up, lock her up. Bernie can do that. Bernie is, he understands it. For whatever reason, he gets it. It's important. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. They're coming for Trump. Aha. Hoo-hoo. Hee-hee.
Democrats are no longer waiting for Robert Mueller's report to plow ahead on this issue. Instead, we've learned that they are now preparing to formally request the president's tax returns. There's a new sense of urgency here among Democrats after Michael Cohen's testimony last week raised serious new questions about the president's finances and conflicts of interest, including whether the president inflated his own wealth for his own personal gain.
Yeah. Again, that gain was to buy the Buffalo Bills. I'm not quite sure that that's something you want to do. And he didn't get the Bills, mostly because there's a certain sense when you're in, it's truly a private club to get into ownerships, right? I mean, Mark Cuban, who I think a lot of people think, hey, that's a good guy, seems to be a good guy. Baseball hated him, wouldn't let him buy the Cubs. They didn't want any part of him. They don't like who he is, right? He owns the Mavericks, want to buy him the Cubs. This is a stodgy old boys network, sure. So. But I look at this. They're coming for him in every way, shape, or form. So let's just play this out for a second. They come for Trump. They get his tax returns. They find some stuff that's odd. Maybe he's not worth as much. Maybe he's worth a little bit more. But let's say he's not worth $4 billion or $3 billion, whatever he says he's worth. Maybe he's worth $1 billion, $850 million. Maybe he shows some loss here that you could be questioning. But the reality is the IRS has audited him. They've looked into situations like this, and they find maybe back in 1996 or the early 2000s when they were struggling for money and they needed some money, they took some money from, the banks wouldn't loan it to them, but other banks or other countries decided, yeah, we'll loan you some of that money. What does it prove? That's the question. What are you proving here? Well, that he's dirty. But do you prove it, or do you just have a hunch and you want to say, ha, look, he's lied to you about how much he's worth. Okay, so he told you he was worth $3 billion. He's only worth $1 billion. But is that a crime? Is that? Well, he took money from the Saudis in 96, let's just say, or the Russians in 2002. Does that make it a crime? Well, now we know that they've got something on him. Do they have something on him? Do they really? I mean, there's lots of things here that you could look at. And it's not just there that they're headed, because now we've moved over and we've said, okay, so they're looking at all of this stuff. Now it's on to obstruction, because the reality is maybe they're running out of some of the stuff. I think they really thought they were going to get him. And I don't think they think they're going to get him now in the way that they thought.
Do you think the president obstructed justice?
Yes, I do. It's very clear that the president obstructed justice.
So that's where they're going to go with that. And I think what we've talked about all along is where they're coming for him and where they're going to get him isn't so much him, it's going to be his kids. And that Southern District of New York is going to come in a lot of ways. So we'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. I've watched some of it, not all of it. I found it to be more than interesting. I found it to be riveting. I found it to be a tough watch, not because it wasn't very good, but because it's a tough subject, especially for somebody like me. The movie's called Leaving Neverland, and it is a very tough watch because it's a tough subject. Right? This subject right here about young boys being molested is an extremely tough subject. And overnight, as HBO's played it, everybody is taking their stance. There's still a lot of people out there. My son, Jack, if you listen to the show, he's 8 years old. He loves Michael Jackson. Loves Michael Jackson. Doesn't understand. Don't want him to understand. When he gets older, it'll be different. For me, I loved Michael Jackson when I was a kid, right? How many of you didn't? He sold a lot of albums. It was arguably at his zenith, at his height. He was not only the most popular human being at the time in the world, maybe of all time, when it comes to maybe anybody. But it is tough. It is a tough thing. Here's some of what Leaving Neverland is.
I was 7 years old. Michael asked, do you and the family want to come to Neverland? The days were filled with magical childhood adventure experiences. Out of a storybook, right? Out of a fairy tale.
Hello, Wade. Today is your birthday. I love you. Goodbye.
He told me if they ever found out what we were doing, he and I would go to jail for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. And here's something for me, right? Because I was talking to producer Anthony, because these two guys that are in the movie, one of them, a lot of people are saying, got him essentially, for lack of a better term, off in 2000, I think it was 5, with the testimony. And his testimony may have helped him not be found guilty. I look at this, and you listen to this, and it's a perfect example. Here's the parents right here.
Michael asked, do you and the family want to come to Neverland?
We drive in, and then forget about all your problems. You were in Neverland. It was a fantasy. Just kid things. They were just doing kid things. He just came across as a loving, caring, kind soul. It was easy to believe that he was just that.
I, as a parent, if somebody says, hey, I'm going to take your child and we're going to go all over the world and he's going to hang out with me and you're going to come too, but you're sleeping in different hotels and you're moving further and further away from us and your son's become more and more detached. I'm sorry. No, it's not happening. It's not. And I look at the parents and You didn't know? You didn't think anything was weird that a grown-ass man who's the most popular human being on earth was having your 9, 10-year-old over for a sleepover? You didn't find that to be weird when he didn't have kids himself? Well, he's Peter Pan. I said, yeah, Peter the pedophile Pan, but you didn't find any of that weird? You didn't? Because oh, God. And the pushback is there. Some people absolutely believe that he did these things. Other people believe that it's a money grab, right? That these guys want that. For me, if you're asking me, somebody who's been through allegedly what they've been through, I found them to be absolutely real and compelling. And I have news for you. If you can money grab it, money grab the hell out of it. I got no problem with it. I got absolutely no, because what I do know is he did pay off some. That's for sure. He absolutely paid off some to go away. I remember Elton John was on, and I think it was Leno. It may have been the end near when Johnny was retiring. But Elton said, there is no chance in hell I would have ever paid anybody a penny if I didn't do anything. I would have fought tooth and nail. Absolutely fought tooth and nail to clear my name. This isn't like a situation where it was a he said, she said, nobody, and they're adults and everything. This is, are you a child molester? Go away. Sorry. You fight tooth and nail because this is something you can't recover from. Or you shouldn't be able to. And I think today he wouldn't. But the BBC is already pulling some of his music. And like the other day, I mean, I'm listening to my radio and Pretty Young Thing comes on and it's a catchy damn tune. I catch myself singing. I sing, geez, it is a tough thing. And I told producer Anthony, I was like, I said, look, the Jackson 5, you play that, right? Outside of that, it's just tough. It's absolutely tough. And it's a tough thing. And I felt these guys to be pretty damn credible. And they asked about, the Macaulay Culkins and things of the world because a lot of these kids seem to replace, like he would replace some of these kids as they went on. And I will say, I think Macaulay Culkin at the time, I think it's certain stars, especially some of these younger kids. Some of them, I think it was very much a Peter Pan-like thing where he's hanging out with Webster and Macaulay Culkin. But they were also stars in their own right. And I don't think anything was happening there because they were big enough that probably was going to happen. It was the kids who didn't seem to have enough that he could suck them in. And he was able to do things with because people were in awe of him and they were afraid of him. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I just, I look at this and I think I don't want to hear his music. I don't. Just like people saying R. Kelly. I find no difference in any of these. And as gross as R. Kelly is, he's trying to fight everything. He eventually paid off some kids. Let's be real. He paid some kids to go away. And I find that to be disturbing, especially when you're being accused as a child molester to not fight it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Car Shield. I drove a lot this weekend. Got a funny story about that. We'll talk about that. But I don't worry about my car. I don't. I take it in, oil change, tune up the usual stuff. But when it comes to big things, repairs that may happen in the what if future, that's where I've got Car Shield. I get 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car when my car's in the shop. And the thing that's really amazing is the shop that you get to choose. Because I've heard from other people that they make you go, who've had other services where they make you go to the place where you basically take it to the place that they want you to take it to, and they kind of do a job that's kind of half-assed, and they get the car out of there because they're not really there to do anything other than just to get it running. And if it falls apart again, that's on you. No, Car Shield lets you take it where you want to take it. Take it back to the dealership. They get it handled from there. You pay a small deductible, and they pay the rest. It's simple. It's easy. They got so many different plans to find the needs that you want. Which one do you want? You got this plan. They got that plan. Which one suits your needs best? Check it out for yourself. Do what I did. Get the ultimate in extended vehicle protection. Call 800-CAR-6100 when you do mention code Benson, or go to carshield.com. Use code Benson. Saves you 10% right there. That's carshield.com. Carshield.com. Code Benson, or call 800-CAR-6100. Mention code Benson. Saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what? Everybody I know, when they come into town, when I was in L.A. to visit me, they all say, we want to go to the Walk of Fame. We'll go to the Walk of Fame. Well, there's a vote out on whether or not, what tourist places are good and not good. And the Walk of Fame is...
I think it's super fun and awesome. It reminds you of all the great movies you saw.
The Hollywood Walk of Fame attracts an estimated 10 million people every year, according to the site's Chamber of Commerce. But have the stars lost their appeal? According to a new survey done for TripAdvisor, the destination has been named the worst tourist attraction in the world, followed by Machu Picchu in Peru and Ocean Park in Hong Kong.
I'll tell you why. It's gross. It's pretty much everything you need to know. It's gross. It's people all want... When I lived there, and I grew up, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, so it's right outside Los Angeles, Long Beach, California. So people come all over, and I made a ton of friends traveling the world. They'd come to visit. Everybody wants to go there. And I tell everybody, it's disgusting. LA's gross. It is gross. It's full of vagrants, and it's just nasty, and it smells like urine, and it's a star. So there you go. It is... bleh.
According to the survey in TripAdvisor, people describe the 15-block-long Walk of Fame and the characters and superheroes that come with it as, quote, completely underwhelming, so disappointing, unsafe, overcrowded, feeling like they're in a tourist trap, and simply meh.
Yeah, it's meh. It's the best way to describe it. And again, it's gross. I don't know how many times I tell people, it's gross. Los Angeles, Hollywood, most of it is meh. There are certain areas you go, right? In and around like the Comedy Store and several of these other places. And you go to parts of Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive's not that big. And you go to a few other places and it's okay, right? But by and large, it's just, and especially the Walk of Fame and Grauman's Chinese Theater and where all the character artists are, they're just, it's awful. And people, it's insulting and it's just, ugh. I just say, what? Yeah, as Hollywood's not all. There's a seedy side to Hollywood long before you get to the shiny side. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. What a crazy. I watched some of the Combine, which is where the NFL wannabes, guys who are going to be drafted, go and share their gifts and show their wares off. Producer Phil, I sent you a picture. I don't know if you got the picture of a guy that everybody's talking about, named DK Metcalf, who looks like he's just like somebody produced him on a comic book character and they took him out and put him out there. But they ask weird questions, and they asked a guy from Texas, Chris Boyd. And they ask weird questions, They've asked all kinds of questions, these players, through the years, just all kinds of stuff, trying to find out things about you and your past. They asked Chris Boyd, do you have two balls? Mm-hmm. That's what they asked him. That's a question they asked. Soak that up. Hope the NFL's worth it. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet us. Check out thechadshow.com. Grab your podcast. It is absolutely free. And like us on the old Facebook, kid. Chad Benson Show. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
House Democrats are actively preparing a request for the president's tax returns. Senior congressional aides tell me that initially they were going to wait for the Mueller report to be released, but Michael Cohen's testimony has injected a new urgency. He raised questions over whether the president inflated or deflated his income for tax and insurance purposes.
They are coming hard. Absolutely. They're coming hard. They're going to be subpoenaed. They're going to be looking at things. It has changed. They have pivoted away from the Mueller report. I think part of that is because they know what's going on. They can see things and understand that the reality is them getting collusion and an impeachment and a smoking gun that is going to say this sinks the president is slim to none. So you have to have something else. And now, is it finances? Is it obstruction of justice?
House Government Oversight Chairman Elijah Cummings issuing a not-so-veiled threat of subpoena if he does not get those documents about Kushner today. All this as the president's former attorney, Michael Cohen, is expected back on the Hill Wednesday, and as we wait for Robert Mueller to finish his report.
You've got that as well. People saying, wait a minute, Trump ordered them to give him top clearance, give him the highest clearance you can give Kushner. And it's funny because the Democrats freak out about this, but you talk to any legal scholars, well, he's every right. He's the one who gets to decide these kind of things. He's got every right to do that. Doesn't matter. It's how can we do what we need to do? How can we do that? Right? Is it finances? Is that it? And is it finances, personal finances over violation in campaign finance, which we all know is just a reach?
It's a finance campaign. Those are fines. Those aren't impeachable in the process.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I thought a lot of this was all about the Mueller investigation, right? This is what it's going to be. It's about the Mueller investigation. This was going to be the end all to be all. And this is where I understand Trump's frustration in the Mueller investigation for a long time. Was it was supposed to be about Russia, and collusion.
And he said, we're going to look into his finance. I said, where did that come from? He always talked about Russia. Collusion with Russia. The collusion delusion.
But it's now changed to something else, and they feel that this is the thing that is going to change everything, and that because of what Cohen said last week, that they believe everything he said, right? Which probably is, if they did, they also believe that there was no collusion because he's like, I have a suspicion, but I can't prove anything because I don't think there is anything there. He didn't hit his wife, didn't do any of these things. There's none of these videotapes. And so I guess they're believing all of it. So they're going to go after his finances the best they possibly can. They're going to hit his taxes. Was he doing things before he became president that was illegal that they can come after him for? Which shows you that it's truly about what? Getting him. Which opens up a huge thing here moving forward when it comes to our politics. That we're going to delve into anybody we don't like. And that every time one side has the house over the other side, they're going to go after it hard if they think that, hey, you may not have done anything as president, but back 8 years ago, you did some stuff that's enough to get you in trouble that we can get you out of here, then we're damn well going to do it.
What we learned from the Cohen testimony was that he directly implicated the president in various crimes, both while seeking the office of president and while in the White House.
I think they know that there's not a lot there while president. But outside of that, can they find something? And what do they do at that point in time? Because when you come this hard, you run the risk of overreaching to the point where America turns on you. And that's what you're seeing when you look at the polls right now for President Trump, especially among Republicans, 90% approval rate. Is all of that real? No, I think 20% of that, 15 or 20% of that is the fact that the resistance movement and the get Trump at all costs movement is pissing people off who may not be Trump supporters, but voted for him because the alternative was Hillary, but hate the fact that it's become this. And they have to ask themselves, what are they going to do? Are they going to go down and try to get him at all costs and try to impeach him?
Impeachment is a long way down the road. We don't have the facts yet, but we're going to initiate proper investigations.
And that's Jerry Nadler right there. Gerald Nadler to you. Jerry to me. Really? No, he's still just Jerry Nadler. I don't know. It does feel like we're at a point now where everything and the scrutiny and the way that we're changing our politics, right? In the sense of let's just get people at all cost, no matter what, is going to be ugly. And I don't want that. I don't want that. Right? I don't want our politicians spending forever just trying to get the other side out. And in a sense, disregarding what the voters did if he's done something wrong, at what point do we say, okay, this is ridiculous now? You're just trying to do everything you can to get him out, period, case closed. At what point do we say we've had enough? And that's what the Democrats are going to wrestle with. Because at some point in time, the smarter Democrats, the Democrats that are out there who are, and by smarter, I mean the ones who understand the political world, are going to realize that the backlash that may come will be subtle, and it'll be in 2020, and it'll be them being voted out and the power returning back to the House, and then making Trump a sympathetic figure that will strengthen him, and they'll realize that. But will a younger generation who wants him out at all costs, and more vocal activist side of it, who want him gone at all costs, they're not going to let that go. And they're running, they could run afoul of those Democrats. And you got to watch out, because they're willing to do much what the Tea Party did, which was take on their own if they felt that you weren't doing what they wanted you to do.
I cooperate all the time with everybody. And you know the beautiful thing? No collusion. It's all a hoax. You're going to learn about that as you grow older. It's a political hoax. There's no collusion. There's no anything. Folks, go and eat up. Eat up.
So we'll see. That was Trump earlier today. Sad news today. Somebody who I grew up watching on television, producer Phil and I were talking about it earlier, passed away last week. He had a stroke and he passed away today. And it was, it's weird because, he's not much older than me. And you start thinking a little bit about your mortality.
Perry was at St. Joseph's Hospital in Burbank. He had been there since last week when he had a stroke. His publicist confirming Perry's death at 52 years old. He was, we're told, surrounded by his two children, Jack and Sophie, along with his fiancée and ex-wife. His mother, stepfather, brother, and sister were there as well.
Yeah. So Luke Perry died today at age 52. And as a human being, you're like, oh, and as a person near that age, you're like, oh, right? Because whenever somebody dies, and this is part of our mortality, right? Whenever somebody dies, especially nowadays, when we hear 52 could have had 35, 40 good years left. It's not old like it used to be. Where you think, oh my God, somebody died at 60 back in the day when you were a kid. You're like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever see 60. Now it's like 52. Guy's still working. He was just getting ready to go. That day, supposedly, he was going to go sign on to renew his character, Dylan, from 90210. Because they were going to reboot it, I guess. I wonder if they were still going to go to the malt shop. Is it malt shop anymore? Would it be an internet cafe? Would it be a coffee shop? Because they had a malt shop. Because it was very much like modern, but at the same time, there was a 50s twist to it. It was very bizarre, 90210. But then you start thinking about your mortality, right? Because all of us run. When we hear so-and-so died, we're like, how did he die? And you're thinking, oh, tell me it was a car crash. Tell me it wasn't something that could affect me. So sad news today. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Very interesting news in the world of pharma that I think some of these big pharma companies are looking around saying that we are we are on stage and the spotlight is on us and we better think of something.
Purdue Pharma said the lawsuit from Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey amounts to oversimplified scapegoating. The company accused Healey of making sensational and inflammatory allegations that are not supported by the law. There is, Purdue Pharma conceded, an opioid abuse crisis, but said responsibility for it cannot be tied to one company. The Massachusetts lawsuit accused Purdue Pharma of pushing for a blizzard of OxyContin prescriptions to boost profits. A spokeswoman said the Attorney General's office plans to oppose the motion to dismiss.
Yeah, and they're now preparing, and this is Purdue Pharma is the company that created OxyContin, preparing to file for bankruptcy, getting ready for that because they understand the flurry that's coming in. And this is another one of those, we're always looking for better stuff, right? We always want that one pill that'll cure everything. But with that one pill that supposedly cures everything, there's always a risk at something. Where does choice of you're making a choice here to take these override the fact that we created these, but you can't abuse them? And then also putting pressure on doctors to sell these things and to push these things. I have a doctor friend who he told me a great story that they flew him and his wife out to, is it called Atlantis? Is that what that is? That's the casino, right? That big casino thing? Is Atlantis?
Yeah.
I think is what it's called. So they flew him and his wife out there, this pharmaceutical company. And he's like, dude, it was the most insane thing, like you could not believe. Like each one of us were given Rolexes. We were given like $10,000 to spend at the tables. The rooms and everything were paid for. They were talking about this new. It's crazy, right? It's crazy, and they want you to push their stuff. They do, because it's a competitive sales world that's out there, and a good portion of the stuff. Yeah, we can use some of this stuff, but there's a lot of it out there, and it's so dangerous. And now, granted, the danger really has cropped over the last 5 to 10 years. They're starting to understand this more and more. So what do you do? Because it is competitive, because these things are expensive to create, and you don't want to say, well, just let it to be word of mouth. So you've got to sell it. Hence the reason why on television every 5 minutes there's some sort of commercial for something, talking about something, and here's all the bad things that can happen to you. But you always don't know what the bad things are. You don't know. And it's tough. And I don't know what's going to happen with the rising price of these things. And imagine what the prices are going to be if they start to go and say, okay, you can't advertise this stuff on television anymore. Doctors can't push these things anymore. What happens then? Do pharmaceutical companies say, well, we're not going to do this anymore? People are like, we're going to bow out of this because there's no way we can make a profit. And why would we spend billions upon billions of dollars to lose billions upon billions of dollars? That's not a smart thing to do. It's a fine line. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Speaking of Twitter, how about litter? See the way that rhymed? Producer Phil asked me earlier, do you really use this stuff? I said, yes. We use Pretty Litter for our cats. I love my cats. And the fact is for all the big lizards I have, and I have about a dozen lizards that are very large, and by large I mean huge, massive, some of them bigger than I am, you can't smell them. You can't smell any of that stuff. You know what you can smell, though? The litter box, the cat box. Yeah. So Pretty Litter, I'm like, I'll try this. First they sent it to me and I'm like, this isn't it. There's like 3 tiny bags. They're like, no, that'll last you a month. I'm like, what? And I'm like, really? This will last me a month? Because it doesn't look like it's going to last much more than a day. It's lasted me a very long time. I still have 2 bags left and we seem to be fine. I can't smell anything. It's Litter 2.0. The way the odor protection is next level. The absorbent of crystals, it's incredible. In fact, the litter is so good that we've had to go out and buy a better litter box that's much more aesthetically pleasing for the house that matches everything. That's the hilarious thing about this. Plus, there's something else. It monitors your cat's health, which is incredible. It's like e-litter is what I joke around and call it. It changes colors to detect underlying illnesses before they get awful. So, hey, I should take the cat in because something's going on here. And it's incredible. It really, really is what it is. It can save you money. It can save you stress. And it sure in heck can save your cat's life. Do what I did. Make the switch to Pretty Litter. Also, I want you to go to prettylitter.com. Use promo code CHAD. It's going to save you 20% off. Again, 3 tiny bags. They're going to last you a month apiece. It's the most incredible thing. You're going to freak out when you see it. Like, no way this lasts you a month. Go to Pretty Litter today. Prettylitter.com. Use promo code CHAD for 20% off. Prettylitter.com. Promo code CHAD. At Chad Benson Show. Twitter. CHADBENSON. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson making the rounds on Chicago media on the same day a federal judge picked a new monitor to oversee the city's police consent decree.
This year to date, we're down 44% in murders, 24% in overall shootings. Our robberies, burglaries, and thefts are at 20-year lows. So I think with the police officers' hard work out there, along with the fact we've rebuilt some of those relationships in the community, I think we'll see a better Chicago.
Johnson's future as superintendent is unclear. The position serves at the pleasure of the mayor. Chicago will select a new mayor next month.
For all the stuff we hear about Chicago, but this goes into everything we talk about because we all live in a safety bubble. Safest time in the history of mankind right now. We live in the best place on earth to live with more opportunities, more safety than any time ever. We think Chicago was what? This murderous, rampaging city. Do you realize that Chicago's the 19th safest city on earth? Right? It's safer than London and about as safe as a place like Brussels, Belgium. Think about that for a second. Wellington, New Zealand. What? Yeah. Yeah. It is an area or two, right? I think we live on the south side of Chicago, places around where Cabrini Green and things like that, which are very, very dangerous, and they've had serious issues. But Chicago itself is one of the safest places on earth. But we have it in our head that it is just, you go there and it's Beirut, back in the 80s, or it's Baghdad now. It's not. It's not. I want to see what happens in Chicago, because when they get somebody who's new, are they going to switch him out? And of course, our buddy Eddie there, who's been has been on television a lot lately because of the Smollett thing. Speaking of it, man, they went after Smollett on Saturday Night Live, and they just destroyed him. I thought it was hilarious. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from each and every one of you. Hillary, I just listened to this for a second.
I am so honored and humbled to receive this Unity Award.
We're going to talk about that. And you just hear her talking there, and then you hear somebody like Bernie talking, you hear somebody like Trump talking, and juxtapositions on who they are. And you say, how did Trump win? There's a lot of reasons why Trump won and why he may win again. And some of it has all to do with how he conducts himself in front of a large group of people. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, it's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thought and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
I am so honored and humbled to receive this Unity Award and to be inducted into the National Voting Rights Museum's Women's Hall of Fame.
No idea that even existed. Listen to her speak, though. And why, when you listen to her, you think, well, why we listen to that? I mean, she doesn't matter. No, Hillary doesn't. But I'll tell you what does matter. It's cult of personality. Right? Cult of personality matters. As we moved in 2020, cult of personality matters more than anything. You want to know why? Go look and see what's trending on things like Twitter, which is where a good portion of people get their news and stuff from. Right? Luke Perry, Dylan McKay is trending on Twitter. You go look throughout the day, what's trending on Twitter? Who's trending? Personality matters big time. And when you listen to her, right, you're like, there's no inspiration. Like, nobody's going to go, I'm going to run through a wall. I'm going to run through a wall for her. People are like, I might push her through a wall, but I don't know if I'm going to run through a wall. That's, to me, it's always been a huge reason why she lost. Is she doesn't connect. And you need to be able to connect on a different level than ever before. Coming out, right, in front of a crowd and getting it right with your policies, if you bore them, they don't care. Are you entertaining? Do you entertain me? Do you capture me? Do you evoke an emotion? Will you get me to do something for you? Not just because of what you're saying, but how you're saying it. Bernie, on the other hand, 12,000 people hanging out with Bernie, and you can just listen to him, just the excitement in Bernie's voice, as excited as he can be, but there's something about him that brings people out, and they're excited about his message and the way that he delivers his message.
Thank you all for being part of a political revolution which is going to transform America.
Right? He starts there, he starts down, and then he gets going up, and then he gets going up, then he gets going up, and then there's just something about Bernie and the way he's able to do it. Hillary was like, whatever she said, it was just, it was almost like they'd hold the applause sign up and they put it down. With Bernie, it's natural, it's real, he gets out there. That's why Beto, a lot of people think Beto has something. Why? Because there's something about him that gets people excited. He's great in front of a crowd. And that matters in this day and age.
They thought we were kind of crazy and extreme. Not the case anymore.
You never heard that with Hillary. You're like, Trump over the weekend, CPAC, doing what Trump does. Doing what Trump does. Getting the people excited. Going back to the hits that he needs to go to. And then playing other hits and doing it at times 2.5 hours almost off the cuff. He gets it. There's a cult of personality that comes with it. And you have to have that, whether people want to believe that or not.
Not to talk badly about the other administration, but if that theory went forward with crooked Hillary winning the election, instead of being up almost 50% with the stock market, you would have been down 50%.
Listen. And the place goes crazy and they love it, right? He continues to go to his hits, but he plays it. He's off the cuff. There's something about him. In the crowd, the people that are in front of him are excited. You need that. You do. Especially in this day and age where you've got to catch people's attention. We have so many things at our disposal. There's so much competition, whether it's politics or entertainment or sports. There's a ton of stuff that's at our disposal. So if you're going to keep us, you better entertain us.
So everybody's having a good time. I'm laughing. We're all having fun. And then that fake CNN and others say, he asked Russia to go get the emails. Horrible.
He was great. And some of the stuff he done. This right here, I thought was just basically everything you needed to know about. Listen to what he says, but it's the personality. It's the way that's entertaining. You don't have to like Trump to find this to be funny when he's talking about the Green New Deal.
I say, no, I think the new Green Deal, or whatever the hell they call it, the Green New Deal, right? Green New Deal. I encourage it. I think it's really something that they should promote. No planes, no energy. When the wind stops blowing, that's the end of your electric. Let's hurry up. Darling, is the wind blowing today? I'd like to watch television, darling.
You never got that. You would get that maybe out of a bet, though, right? Bernie will be his Bernie. We're turning the world into a revolution. You're going to get that as some people. That right there matters. Because you can no longer just tell, and this is the part of the problem with the whole news world. It's no longer who, what, when, how, and why. You make up your own opinion. It's who, what, when, how, and why. Give us some of your opinion. Evoke an emotion out of me because I also need to be entertained in this entire thing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love having each and every one of you. So you guys tweet at us. Some people, Hillary bot. Yeah, she's a Hillary bot. That's for darn sure. 110%. She is a Hillary bot, and that was her problem. And they're going to look. They're doing everything they can now to figure out a way to get after Trump. And it is they're going to look at everything, and they're starting with taxes, which is something they've wanted to get a hold of since forever.
Democrats are no longer waiting for Robert Mueller's report to plow ahead on this issue. Instead, we've learned that they are now preparing to formally request the president's tax returns. There's a new sense of urgency here among Democrats after Michael Cohen's testimony last week raised serious new questions about the president's finances and conflicts of interest, including whether the president inflated his own wealth for his own personal gain.
Well, I'm sure he probably did. And maybe at times he didn't. Maybe he deflated it. Maybe he inflated it. Has everybody ever done that before? It's possible, some of us. I'm asking any of you, have you always been 110% honest? I mean, just so honest. You've been over honest on your tax returns. Have you done it? Have you ever said to yourself, well, I drive 20 miles when really I drive 10 miles? Have you ever, is that not the same? Well, it's totally different. I'm just saying, is that not somewhat the same? Not saying it's a good thing, not saying it's a bad thing, saying that a lot of us kind of do it, right? How far do you drive? How far do you not drive? Do they ask you that? How many cents do I get a mile? I get 53.5 cents a mile? Well, I drive 100 miles a day. Can you prove it? Do you stay at a hotel? Yeah, I've stayed at a hotel. How can you prove it? It's interesting, right? Has he and the inflation thing when it comes to his net worth apparently was all about buying the Buffalo Bills, which I'm not quite sure anybody would want to buy the Buffalo Bills. No offense to Buffalo or the Bills. They got a great fan base. The fact that 80,000 people show up at Rich Stadium, or whatever it's called now, to watch the Buffalo Bills play a football game, and many times in just awful weather, is absolutely amazing. That organization's not, it's Buffalo. But he wanted it. So apparently he inflated it. So we'll see what takes place from here. But they're coming strong for him, and it doesn't matter what it is, they're going to try to find it.
Do you think the president obstructed justice?
Yes, I do. It's very clear that the president obstructed justice.
And what does that mean for the president? Well, I mean, as far as, I just think the impeachment thing is not something they're going to want to do, especially when you know that it's all about taking the president down notch by notch. And I think that's a lot of what they're doing. They know that they're not going to find anything as far as impeachment level to take him out. So if it's just about getting him, and if it's obstruction of justice and they go after his family, is that going to be enough for him to say, I'll step away or I'll quit? I don't know. But I worry about the what if takes place in the future when they come hard for everybody. Right? And that's the thing. They're going to come hard for everybody. Now, the Republicans are, just like the Republicans are worried about Trump doing the emergency situation here at the wall and all of that stuff at the border, and they worry about, okay, what will Republicans do in the future? Democrats are also fighting with this. Hey, if we end up making this all about this, do you realize the next person that comes in, they're going to tear apart every single thing in he or she's life. They're going to try to find something in he or she's life in some way, shape, or form that they can say, ha-ha, and that this is what we're going to get, which is not a government I want. It really isn't. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from each and every one of you. I watched the Michael Jackson, a good portion of it, the Leaving Neverland. It's a tough thing to watch, and it was an interesting thing to say the least. If you've not seen it, it is about the two kids who are in this that said that they were molested. I find them to be extremely credible. I don't think, the lawsuits are flying around right now. HBO is being sued by $100 million by the estate, the Michael Jackson estate. And I don't know what they're going to get out of that. But they said that HBO essentially, they're not really disputing any of the stuff. It doesn't seem. What it seems like is they signed a contract with with Michael Jackson at the time, and I guess the Jackson Trust and family, that they would not disparage him in any way, shape, or form. And this is disparaging. And it is a very interesting look into the entire process. And I blame a lot of this process. And a lot of the things that happen to these kids on the parents, which I think there needs to be more brought up about that. But these kids and these young, well, now they're men, I find them to be extremely credible.
He helped me tremendously. He helped me with my career. He helped me with my creativity, with all of those sorts of things. And he also sexually abused me for 7 years.
Oh, it's tough to listen to. It is. And they break down a lot of different things on what they did and how they felt at times they were cast aside when other people came into the picture, including the likes of Macaulay Culkin, who they spoke about. And they've already spoken out against this movie.
Part 1 of the documentary also alleges Jackson had inappropriate relations with Brett Barnes and possibly Macaulay Culkin.
It was very obvious to me that Macaulay had taken Wade's place in Michael's best friend category.
Yeah. So Macaulay Culkin said, nah, didn't happen. And he's spoken out about it. But for these other two, I find them to be extremely credible. I find a lot of what they said to be very credible. And when you listen to the way that it's a classic thing that happens. You threaten kids. You get them to believe certain things. You put a distance between the people that should be protecting you and the person that is doing things to you. And in doing so, you build this perfect cocoon but you've always got to keep up the ruse.
It felt like you were bonding in a way. The tour was the start of this sexual, couple relationship.
And that tour was of Neverland. And the parents talked about how great it was, how amazing it was, how incredible it was. Here we are, we're going to Neverland. You go in there and this is an incredible place. And they've got it's a small world. And they've got the train ride from Disney. And it literally is a kid's dream. But behind that dream is the evil that's there.
He would run drills with me where we'd be in the hotel room and he would pretend like somebody was coming in and you had to get dressed as fast as possible without making noise.
Yeah. And I guess, he would placate the parents for a little while. Then they would go to cities and he would move them a little bit further away from the hotel that they were staying at. And then when they would start to question, he'd move them a little bit closer, but he always kept them further away. And he would talk about, look, if we're both in so much trouble, if they ever find out about us, they put it so it's on that child that if anything was to ever happen, anything at all, they were caught, that kid's going to be in as much trouble as the adult. And it's sad. It's very sad. And having gone through what they went through, allegedly, they did, and I find them to be extremely credible. Having gone through that, people always say, did you feel that same way about, no, I said I never did. My biggest fear was my father was a very violent man, and I know what he would have done. And I also know what that would have meant for my father. And I didn't want that. And also, it was a time and a day and age in the 70s that you just didn't talk about stuff like this. It was, it's still tough to talk about. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Another person said, that is Hillbot. Listening to Hillary speak, she just sounds so staccato in she may be the robot Manchurian candidate. Maybe it's not Trump. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Butcher Box, incredible. High-quality meat coming right to your door. Yes, please. Unbelievable flavor. Unparalleled nutrition. Why is that? First and foremost, the way they're raised. Humanely raised, right? Ethical process and the way they do things. No antibiotics, no hormones. Grass-fed, free-ranging chickens and beef. And everything is the way it's supposed to be, the way nature intended it. And what you get from Butcher Box is incredible. I've told the story and I'll tell it again. We got a new barbecue and smoker because we thought, well, the one we have isn't as good as it should be for this. That's how incredible Butcher Box is. They've got everything from chicken to beef to wild-caught salmon, and it comes directly to your door, less than $6 a meal. You're going to love every second of it. And this is what they're doing for my listeners. That's you guys. Go to butcherbox.com right now /Chad. You're going to get free ground beef for the life of your subscription and $20 off your first box when you sign up. It's butcherbox.com /Chad. Don't miss out. If you've ever thought to yourself, well, what can I do with that? Spaghetti, tacos, the greatest hamburgers you're ever going to eat. That's what you're going to do with this beef. And you get it for the life of your subscription. Sign you up. Butcherbox.com /Chad. Butcherbox.com /Chad. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
It feels the same to me. Not much has changed. I mean, people are excited and all that, but I'm the same guy and people around me are acting the same way, so it's good.
That is your Liv Seth Ulsum, and he is the defending champion in the Iditarod. Chad, that's not very nice to say. I'm just saying more from your...
Yeah, no, the training season has been good. We've been traveling a lot, and I think we got the training done pretty much like normal, so I feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, so what is the Iditarod? Did I keep saying that? It's from Anchorage to Nome. It's 930 some miles, where I think you have to have 16 dogs or something like that go with you, but of which 5 of them have to be, tied to you. It's a weird thing. They started in 1973. It's something I've always wondered about. But look, these dogs are these kind of animals. They were working. That's what they do. They're working animals. That's what they like to do, but PETA doesn't like it because they're working animals.
PETA is calling for a permanent end to dogs in the Iditarod. Dogs are not snow machines. They get sick on the trail. They suffer from bleeding stomach ulcers, bloody paws, heart attacks.
Yeah, they do. And sometimes they do die. I don't know. I just, since Wide World of Sports isn't on anymore, nobody ever watches it, but it's very interesting. But it's going on right now, and you can check it out on YouTube and everywhere else. Hey, kids, here's your useless fact of this day on this beautiful Monday. The first webcam wasn't for the adult stuff, but it was a different kind of adult stuff, set up by guys in Cambridge over there in England. Why? Because they were sick and tired of walking over to see if the coffee pot was done brewing. So they set it up so they could watch it, so they knew it was done when it was done. Then they headed over there. Simplicity, kids. Have a good rest of your Monday. As always, kids. Night, night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.